All right, welcome back to the channel. Dillian White is saying that he doesn't understand what the beef is with him and the WBC, and the Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury are cowards that are running from him. And I ain't got no patience for this dude because he just flat out lies, man. Either he's just got an absolute terrible memory or he's just a pathological liar. And seeing as he's represented by Eddie Hearn, hey, man, birds of a feather flock together, I guess. Let's talk about Dillian White and this stuff that he has to say about the WBC, Tyson Fury, and Deontay Wilder in this fight, in this video. All right, welcome back. So Dillian White has some problems with the WBC, or thinks that the WBC has problems with him. I wonder why they would. And that Deontay Wilder was a coward that didn't want to face him. And now you have Anthony Joshua, who's another coward who doesn't want to face him. That's the story that Dillian White is pushing. Dillian White has been pushing this woe is me story for a while when he started talking about how long he had been the number one ranked guy by the WBC. But and this is something that you have to understand. This is why I'm saying either he doesn't understand or he's just a liar. The WBC does not give the mandatory shot to a person that because they are ranked number one. The WBC gives a mandatory position based on from people that are within the top three and different considerations that they have. So they can label somebody as a mandatory and yet have somebody else as the number one. The reason why that could happen is, and for example, happened with Dillian White, is that when Dominic Breazeale was the number one ranked contender by the WBC, he was given the mandatory title, the mandatory shot. But the rankings changed. And Dominic Breazeale was no longer the number one ranked guy by the WBC. Dillian White became the number one guy in the WBC, but the mandatory had already been ordered between Deontay Wilder and Dominic Breazeale. So Dillian White had been number one, but he had not been the mandatory. Now, this is why I'm saying cry me a river. Explain to me exactly what Dominic Breazeale did in order to be removed from the number one position by the WBC. He didn't lose. He was the number one ranked guy, but for some reason, he was no longer the number one ranked guy, even though he had never lost. Why is that? Because Dillian White got there into that position because Eddie Hearn maneuvered him into that position because Eddie Hearn wanted Dillian White to fight Deontay Wilder. So they did. So whatever wheeling and dealing went on between Eddie Hearn and the WBC, when their rankings came out, they moved Dillian White into the number one position that was previously occupied by Dominic Breazeale. Dominic Breazeale, by the way, who had not lost. So how you lose your ranking without losing is a bit of a mystery to me. I'm sure that there's somebody out there that could explain that to me. However, Dillian White continues to go on. See, because that's past history. I just want to let you know what the scenario was. But now let's get into exactly what Dillian White is just flat out lying about. Dillian White says, I wonder what the WBC's beef with me is. And I've beaten more top contenders than either Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury. Now, is it true that the WBC might have beef with him? Yes, it is definitely possible that the WBC could have some beef with Dillian White. Wonder why that could be. Well, let's name them. Number one, he Oh, before I do that, because here's the lie. Dillian Whyte says, I've done everything. What's there beef with me? I've done everything. Implying, or what you infer it to mean, I've done everything they've asked me to do. I don't know what their beef is. That, my friend, is not true. You did not do. He did not do what Dillian Whyte did not do what the WBC asked him to do on two occasions. And that what he did also plays into the next little bit of his story he's concocting, that he's fought more top contenders than either Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury. Not true. However, let's look at what it is exactly that he's saying. First, let me tell you the two things that he didn't do that he was asked to do by the WBC. Back in April of 2018, the WBC ordered a fight between Dillian White, who was number 1, and Dominic Breazeale, who was number 2. That was a fight for a title eliminator. That is something that qualifies as something that the WBC asked him to do. Did he do it? No, he did not. What did he do though? Did he fight another ranked fighter? Yes, he did. That fighter was Joseph Parker. Now, that should mean something to the WBC, right? Right? Why? Dillian Whyte chose to fight Joseph Parker, who was the number 5 guy in the WBC, over Dominic Breazeale, who at the time I think was, the number 4 ranked guy. Now, again, remember, he went all the way from number 1 to number 4, even though he had never lost. But Dillian Whyte didn't fight him. He decided to fight a guy that was a lower ranked guy in Joseph Parker, a lower ranked guy, by the way, that had come off of a loss. He decided to do that instead of Dominic Breazeale. That is not a case of you doing what the WBC asked you to do. It is a case of Dillian Whyte not doing what the WBC asked him to do. Is that the only time? Of course not, because we said earlier in the video that there were 2 cases in which he did that. The next was in February of 2019 when the WBC, I got it backwards. In April of 2008, it was Luis Ortiz that he ducked. And Luis Ortiz, I believe, was... I got to switch this up. No, I think originally the first one, yes, on the 28th, that 2018 fight was Dominic Breazeale, because the Dominic Breazeale fight happened second. That happened first. The second fight, which was in 2019, was the same year that Luis Ortiz fought Deontay Wilder. So it was in February of 2019 that the WBC said, hey, Dillian, if you want to get the shot next at Deontay Wilder, what we'll do is we'll meet you halfway. We'll order a fight between you and the current mandatory, and the winner gets the shot. All you got to do is fight Luis Ortiz. And Dillian Whyte said no. And who did he go fight? He went to go fight Oscar Rivas instead in the UK. So and Oscar Rivas is not Luis Ortiz. And because the WBC didn't say, will you fight Oscar Rivas? No, they said, can I get the WB? Will you fight Luis Ortiz? And he said, no, not Oscar Rivas, Luis Ortiz. So that's the second time that he said no. Now, could there be any other reason why the WBC might be upset with Dillian Whyte? Maybe it is the debacle with your drug test and the fact that they had to snatch it back from you because you popped dirty. Now, not that they have that much problems with people that pop dirty, but yours was particularly heinous because you actually got away with fighting like that and you knew you were doping before you went in the ring. Everybody knew it beforehand, not after. Wasn't a Canelo Alvarez situation where the WBC can say, oh, we stopped the fight didn't go on, and we support Canelo. And then he gives him the fight doesn't happen. And eventually he wins the fight later. No, this dude just went in the ring under the influence of performance enhancing drugs and gloves that weren't approved. It's just a terrible spot. It's a terrible mark on the WBC's back. Of course they might have beef with you, Dillian. Dog, next time they ask you to fight somebody, fight somebody. Instead of always asking, I want Deontay Wilder. I don't care what the WBC wants when I'm asking for an opportunity to fight for their belt. It's absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, it is what it is. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, like my man Big Dog Willie says, fuck Dillian White. Anyway, with that, I'm out. Peace.